Hi there, everybody. I hope you have all had a wonderful long Labor Day weekend. I'm going to do this one pre-recorded just on the off chance I didn't get back home in time. We were spending one of our final weekends up at our lake house because school for us starts on Tuesday. I noticed a lot of people started this last week. We must be one of the last school districts to get started. So yeah, one more family outing before we get into the crazy schedule of fall school time. Alrighty, I'm just going to get right into it, and then I will be posting the information and the pictures and things when I get back, so they should appear shortly after you see this video. So, alright, so for tonight's episode, number 80, wow, that just sounds crazy to think we've been together that many times on a Monday. You are going to need a piece of cardstock that's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using Night of Navy, and I got a little ahead of myself and I already attached my designer series paper to it. Got a little excited about tonight's project. So your designer series paper should be 2 inches by 5.5 inches, and as you can probably see, that's approximately where we're going to be placing it. Then I said to please grab a neutral piece of cardstock about 1/2 inch by 2 inches and some sort of phrase to fit inside of that, and a focal point that is about 2.5 by 2.5, and I'm going to be starting with just a plain white circle. For most of my samples tonight are going to be featuring this stamp set called Through It Together. Lots of little phrases that will fit pretty close to this size, maybe even just a little bit bigger. And it's a really nice one about support and get wells and warm wishes. I really like sending you a paper hug, you know, that kind of thing. So a lot of really nice little encouraging phrases throughout that one. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to be working on my focal point first. I am going to grab a sponge dauber and my Mango Melody ink pad. This DSP is from Hues of Happiness, and that's what this color right here is. It's the Mango Melody. And I'm just going to go ahead and put my sponge dauber in there. Now what I'm doing is just taking out some of the starkness of the white paper because I'm going to add a die cut to this, and I want some of that white to kind of be not so bright shining through it, so to speak. Okay, so as you can see, when I'm using a sponge dauber, I do like to put it on the tip of my finger, and then I start off the side of my paper and just start doing it in circular motions. I'm going to flip it over and show you something. If you decide to just like push to start, you're going to end up with this little dot. Here, I'll actually put some more ink in it, and you can see you kind of can make polka dots. And if you try to go over that again, yeah, you're still adding some more ink, but you can always see that polka dot. So you want to start pressure off so that you get the feel of it before you're actually putting it onto whatever you're sponging. All right, so that is my focal point. I die cut this little butterfly from the Brilliant Wings die set, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of dimensional on him. I cut the little piece. I always use almost every single inch of my dimensionals. As you can see, it's not just the parts that are already hexagonal. I always cut off the little ends, and it's nice for something like this where there's just a tiny little bit you need. So I have just a tiny little dimensional sitting right there, and I'm just going to put him right in the middle. So you can see I just use that Mango ink pad to just take some of the whiteness away. It would be a little bit of stark contrast without that. So there is my focal point. All right, so for my phrase, I chose the one that says, hello, lovely, because I think flowers and butterflies and all that wonderful stuff fits into the lovely category. All right, I'm going to attempt this overhead and hope that I'm mostly straight, and otherwise I will try it again on the other side of the paper. Haha, not bad actually, but I am going to try one more time because it wasn't quite even. So we'll see how well I do this time. That's a little better. Okay. Now, I did aim it this way because I'm going to end up tucking just a little of this behind. You can leave yours centered. You can put yours to the right edge, left edge. If you take up the whole 2.5 inches or 2 inches, that's perfect. Don't worry about it. Like I said, I'm just going to end up tucking mine kind of behind like that. Okay. There's lots of different ways you can do this. So if you want to wait until I show you the rest of my samples, that might give you a better idea of how you want to put yours together. So you put your DSP across the bottom, near the bottom half, and then we're going to go ahead and attach the circle. I'm going to just put it on straight. You can add dimensionals to any of this, of course, wherever you want. And that should be enough adhesive to hold. So I want my butterfly to be a little bit on an angle. And then I have my Hello Lovely. So I'm just going to tuck that behind so it's sitting with the adhesive. Add a little more adhesive there. And I'm going to place it, let's see, right about, where do I want that one to be? I think I'll go right there. All right, so just a little bit down, and then my phrase sits across just a little bit of that flower, but not the whole thing. Okay, so there you go. That is a quick and simple layout. Basic shapes, really easy to use. Big, bold prints work really well for something like this because it's going to be a lot of the focus of the project. And again, if you need a panel for the inside to stamp or write on, you're going to want to cut a piece that's 4 by 5 1/4 out of your neutral cardstock, and that should fit that just fine. Okay, so let me show you some more samples. And then, like I said, you can kind of decide what you want to do with that. With this one, I used the Splendid Day bundle. This is one of the opposite sides of the DSP. The other ones have like all those really beautiful foils and shiny ones. So this is one of the opposite sides. I did a few die cuts, and I used my watercolor shapes to fill that in that square. So you can see I did a circle here, square here. Your focal point doesn't have to be anything in particular of a shape, just something that you can look at and that will be the focus. I used a die to make a piece approximately the same size as what I wanted to use on my phrase. And the Today is a Day to Remember does come from that Splendid Day set. Alrighty, then on this one, this is another piece from Hues of Happiness, and I used a die set to cut out a bunch of little flowers, which I put all over this circle, and then I put my phrase across it. And I did back my circle with a little bit of the green just to pop it off and make it a little bit different, to make it stand out a little bit from the background, because this was very white and this was very white in its background. All right, for this one, I went to the Cottage Garden DSP, and I also used the, let me see if you can see it in there. I used an embossing folder that kind of has a similar pattern to it. This comes from the He's the Man Designer Series paper, the page where you just pop out an image. It's already pre-die cut, so that was already done for me. I just added a shape behind it, and again, here's my phrase, also tucked back inside. This one uses the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper, and I took a little bit off of another piece of that and just fussy cut it, and then put a little bit of a stitch square behind it so you can see it pop off that particular color. So this is very vanilla as opposed to white, and the white is actually in here, but I feel vanilla blends better with like Cajun and the mossy and those fall colors. I like using vanilla a little bit better. And then this again comes from the Threw It Together. It says Forever Grateful, which kind of has that little Thanksgiving theme to it. Okay, let me set a couple of these aside over here. I think you can still sort of see them. Oh, well, let me do this. There we go. Now you can kind of see those, hopefully. Because I want to do the comparison now between, here's the one I did on camera, and here is my stepped up version. Now what I did is I flipped the layout. As you can see, the layout now goes vertically as opposed to horizontally. Same piece of Designer Series paper, just one of the other parts of the spectrum of it. All the pieces in this Hues of Happiness tend to go from pinks into yellows into greens and then blues. So you have a whole, in purples. You have a whole, that's why it's Hues of Happiness. You have this whole like rainbow effect kind of thing happening. I added a layer with some embossing. Again, one of the pretty petals, I think it's called Pretty Petals. I'll double check and confirm that for you guys. Embossing folder on this layer. I used my layering circles again to do my focal point. And this time I incorporated the phrase over it, similar to how I did with this one over here. I added some more die cuts, and instead of doing, because I knew I was going to be covering this up, I left some of this white, and then I used some of the solid shapes of butterflies behind the die cut, and he's popped up, just that piece is popped up. So that it kind of fills in some of the butterfly effect, but not all of it. So you can still see his beautiful detail shining through. So, okay, so there you go. That is some possibilities for this particular layout. So again, where you put the focal point, up to you. How you use the little phrase, up to you. Is it tucked behind? Is it sitting by itself? Is it really prominent? All those things are good, like I said, depending on what you guys are using. I would love to see what you're using, by the way, so please feel free to upload your project in the comments section when the video goes live so we can see what you used and what you did to make these awesome creations. So, all right, thank you, my inky friends, and I will see you again next Monday. Take care now. Bye-bye.